Welcome to the Famous Graves podcast. I am your host, Mike Knox. This is episode 18. I just wanted to let everybody know that the Dow Jones dropped 500 points on Friday. Nobody seemed to care. It really is politics for you. When somebody else is in office and it drops 10 points, the media is kicking and screaming. When it drops 500 and my retirement fund is like 20% under, nobody says anything. Everything's supposed to be wonderful. But that's just how our society goes. Everything is, I don't know, this is the conclusion I have after saving. Let's see, I've saved in a 401k for 20 years, and it just seems to jump between 80,000 and 100,000, and never seems to get over that 100,000 mark. And I just feel doomed for retirement, even though everything is connected to our retirements, and it's not looking good for, I'm going to be living at your house is what I'm trying to say. But anyways, I'm sure everybody says long-term investing. Hopefully after 50 years of investing, I can have 150,000 to retire off of. But I stopped, I was on Mulholland Drive, and that's a strip of highway there in Los Angeles. And they've got a couple little areas where you can park, and only like maybe at the most, I don't know, maybe 10 cars can fit in there. Maybe it seems like 5 or 10 cars. But it's a great. The one that I stopped off in was Stone Canyon, and there's a Stone Canyon reservoir. If you didn't know, it's kind of like a lake. It's where we store some of our water. But the wonderful people of our city of Los Angeles, I think they did something right here. I think I've talked about this before, but it's basically a nature preserve. They've got, I'm sure there's a wild cougar down there or something. But you've got this nice view. I don't know if there's a hiking trail there. There should be. It's just kind of an odd place because it's very hidden. You'd never know that it was there unless you looked it up. And it's overlooking, the Stone Canyon Reservoir, nice little body of water there. Bushes and trees, green. You can see way out. Some say you can see the ocean. It wasn't that clear of a day that day, but just a nice little, in the middle of, I guess it would be in the middle of LA or part of Los Angeles, probably the northern part. No, maybe it is the middle. But it's a nice little, free little getaway there. Parking's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You're just taking some fresh air there. And then all that kind of goes out the door when you then get back onto Mulholland, because it's like this blind curve to get in there, and you almost get hit by a car going both ways because you can't see anything. But prior to that, it's a great place that I definitely recommend. And it's on the south side of Mulholland Drive on Mulholland Scenic Parkway. The Stone Canyon Overlook features ample parking, which I said, and a short, accessible trail. There is a tiny little trail that goes up to the top, and then it's got a bunch of little signs that tells you the wildlife and stuff, the views of the Santa Monica Mountains, and the LA Department of Water and Power. I'm telling you kids, you go to college, but you go get your job at the Water and Power, because that is a racket in itself. On a clear day, you can see Palos Verdes. Catalina Island can also be seen. The overlook is dedicated in honor of Anton Scalia, I gotta say. Horrible with last names, who's appointed to the Santa Monica Conservatory from 1980 until 1993 by L.A. Mayor Tom Bradley. So if you do want to put it in your coordinates, it is 13931 Mulholland Drive, named, of course, after Mr. Mulholland there, who was... he's got an interesting story. I should probably go visit his grave, too. But he basically, from what I've read... just wandered in one day to Water and Power and was like, I'd like a job. Didn't know anything about, and then the guy liked him, and then he started, he had no sort of engineering background, and sure enough started making dams and waterways, and then the San Francisco Dam broke and ruined his career because it killed 700 people. We'll talk about that some other time though. But so in the news this week, or also I should say, I started the Epilepsy Foundation of Hollywood because we do not have a Hollywood, and the name was not taken, and so I got the website epilepsyhollywood.com, and got a address and a phone number, and I'm going to get a nonprofit federal registration, and we're going to go from there. And my goal is we seem to not make fun of anything but seizures and epilepsy for some reason, and that needs to stop. I've talked about that before, but also it's that social media, TV, films, for some reason, still want to make fun of that. So that is my mission statement. We need to stop that. We definitely need an organization that targets that. Most organizations, good or bad, they do a walk or a camp, and they don't do anything else. They're not helping you get a job. They're not helping you with finding a lawyer, with SSI. They're not nothing. It's just, did you go on a walk? And I'm tired of going on walks. And what I always wanted for my child who has epilepsy was they have these inflatable giant brains. It's interactive. You get to walk inside of a brain. I know that a few epilepsy foundations have them. They just refuse to help me out for some reason. So that's what I want to do with Epilepsy Hollywood, is to obtain one of those brains. I'm looking at pricing. They're a couple $1,000. And my goal is to take that to my kids' school and other kids in Los Angeles, because there's really no training on, there's no education on the brain, and that is what keeps us going every day, and that should be the focus. There's also no training really on how to deal with money or money management in high school. We're really going back to the stock market, going back to 401k savings. We're a nation of just being in debt and always talk about debt. And high school teaches us, at least my high school taught us how to be in debt. Hopefully that has changed. I don't know. They also taught me to type 80 words a minute. That was a big highlight of my high school career. So Google this week says the CEO of Google, who makes $6.3 million a year and is worth $1.3 billion, and that is pretty amazing from a single website, tells his staff not to equate money with fun and to prepare for modest holiday parties this year. So that's, in a nutshell, is how the structure of our corporations are. The people on the top make the most money. They tell the little worker bees down there to suck it up, work harder for less. And if you don't know, if you're not working for a company, Christmas is a great time of year. You know, December, sometimes they do it January and February, but everybody gets a bonus, and everybody looks forward to that bonus, and everybody might work a little harder for that bonus. They want that bonus because that gets you through Christmas, so your kids aren't kicking and screaming and crying because they didn't get the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. That's from Trading Places. But it makes things easier. That way you're not stressing. You've got at least one month out of the year, I've got this covered. Thank you for working for this crappy company. And here's the Google CEO saying that Christmas isn't going to be this fun this time of year. What a great company. So also this week, KTLA, which is Channel 5 in Los Angeles news. And I actually like KTLA. I actually knew one of the producers there. What I like about KTLA local news is they actually focus on kind of local headlines. They never did an article on me. I always wanted them to do something on epilepsy for my daughter, but they wouldn't return my phone calls. But they do local, kind of down to earth, mom and pop stores, nurses, doctors, stuff like that. That's where I think I know. If it bleeds, it leads. But I really do enjoy seeing stuff about Los Angeles on the news, and not some other place that I've never been to and will never go to, which is usually the news. But this week, KTLA anchor Mark Mester didn't like how the Los Angeles station handled the departure of his weekend co-anchor Lynette Romero, and he's been fired for going off script to talk about it. So that's going to be one indicator right there. He went off script. You don't go off script when you're on TV. Why is that? Because you're told what to say and what to do. The reports that Romero's departure after almost 24 years at KTLA was announced by anchor Sam Rubin, and fans were angered that she apparently hadn't been allowed to record a goodbye message to viewers. KTLA management had hoped she would stay her entire career at KTLA to make that happen, but she had decided to move on to another opportunity. On Saturday morning, Mark Mester said that the treatment of Romero was rude, it was cruel, it was inappropriate, and we are sorry. unfortunately for Mark Mester, being an honest guy, that gets you fired. Being a good, kind-hearted person. I don't know him personally, but that was a great thing to do for his coworker, because 99% of the time that's never going to happen. Your coworkers are always going to basically your coworkers not your friends, and they're going to throw you under the bus every single time. So the reason that I'm reading this article is that Mark Mester is a good anchor, and hopefully he will get another job. Hopefully he will get a better job. Hopefully he'll move on from this. It sucks that he got fired. That's why I bring that up. But again, read your history. News anchors are told what to say every single day, and they're all kind of saying the exact same thing, which is what's so great about podcasts, because podcasts get to go off script. I was reading this story. This is actually from Abandoned Spaces that I follow on Facebook. But this was about a little reunion. I just watched Jaws the other day, which, if I didn't tell you, my dad took me to see Jaws when I was 3 and then bought a boat the next day. So several decades after the release of the movie Jaws, Lee Ferrero, who played Mrs. Kittner, walked into a seafood restaurant and noticed that the menu had an Alex Kittner sandwich. That's the little kid that was eaten by a shark. She commented that she had played his mother so many years ago. The owner of the restaurant ran out to meet her, and he was none other than Jeffrey Voros, who had played her son. I thought they were talking about Friday the 13th there for a minute. He played her son in Jaws. They had not seen each other since the movie wrapped. So they had a little reunion, and they had a little seafood, and hopefully they both ate shark. I don't know if you've had shark before. It's a very chewy texture. I had it maybe one time when I was 12, and I will never eat it again because I did not like it. I'm not really a fish person anyways. I do like halibut, but other than that, I don't know. I like the idea of fish, but I'm just not a fish person. A bargain hunter who went to an estate sale in Maine. I love the state of Maine. I would like to buy a cabin on a lake in Maine. I've been looking at them. They are very reasonably priced. I'm just too lazy to move there. Anyways, the bargain hunter found a KitchenAid mixer, a bookshelf, and walked away with a 700-year-old treasure. Instead of the kitchen appliance, this man stumbled upon a framed document hanging on a wall. It had an elaborate script in Latin along with musical notes and gold flourishes. A sticker said 1285 AD. Between me and you, that's a long time ago. Based on what he'd seen in his schooling at Colby College, I believe Colby College is on the East Coast, the document looked downright medieval, and it apparently was a bargain price of $75. The experts then confirmed that the parchment was it was used in France and dated back to the 13th century, so that 1285 AD was the right time frame and was used about 700 years ago in Roman Catholic worship. That is a find, and the reason that I bring that up is I've never found anything in a thrift store, garage sale, whatever it is, eBay, nothing. I always get reamed. I always buy something, and then I can't. I've got this 1940s hot nuts machine, and I've been trying to sell that thing on eBay, and nobody will buy it. I see all these other people selling them for like $3,000, but nobody wants to buy my stuff. Got a bunch of handheld games too, and I just basically gave up on eBay because it's not the way that it used to be, and I'd really just like to go live like they do in Sealand. If you've never checked out Sealand, check out sealandgov.org, and that is a defunct oil rig in England that the Principality of Sealand, they made their own country because they got tired of going to secondhand stores. Also this week, Facebook admitted to listening in on your conversations. That was confirmed. We all knew that was going on the entire time. Nobody seemed to care. It seems like after 9/11, where the Patriot Act came in, everybody was like, yes, it's okay that the government listens to all of our conversations. They didn't care so much when Nixon was listening to everybody, but now nobody cares. Facebook admitted that it had been paying hundreds of outside contractors to transcribe clips of audio from users of its services in order to promote targeted ads to them. So this is I don't know if this makes sense to anybody, but you're basically saying, oh, we're just transcribing this so that we can sell you more items, which then, this is the callback to a nation of debtors always in debt to buy consumer items. But then, hey, why don't we also take your free information and sell it to other organizations because we're spying on you and we're getting this information for free. And nobody seems to find that at all, a little creepy, because this is the thing. If you have information, if you have knowledge, say you've got knowledge for fixing cars, right? What do you want to do with that knowledge? Well, you'd like to make some money off of that knowledge. So you put a YouTube channel up, you start to fix cars, you start to answer questions, you start to give out advice to people. People are giving you clicks and likes and whatever. Some people are probably sending you some money. You're making money off of those videos because you have a talent for fixing cars. But here's the secret little voice listening, aka Facebook, and other people too. You can't just blame them. But they're making money off of that as well. They're finding out what you do and what you like and what you talk about, and that's free. Don't you think you should be making money off of that? I'm very surprised that nobody has, ever mentioned that before, because that would be another great way for people to make a living off of their ideas, which there's no such thing. There's no such thing as the idea man. Also, this is my little political rant, because we're always talking about, Chicago's got a lot of gun violence. Los Angeles had a lot of gun violence too. And last week, around 1 p.m., the LAPD responded to a radio call of a family disturbance at 102nd Street. As officers approached, they found a 19-year-old man standing out front holding what appeared to be a black rifle. There's pictures of this rifle, and it looks like a real rifle. It looks like something you would see for real, something the LAPD would be holding. And shocker, he got shot because he had the rifle in his hands pointing it at the police. It turned out to be an airsoft gun. If you don't know what an airsoft gun is, that's not a gun. That's basically a toy. But we have all these toy guns that look like real guns. I don't know the statistics of people getting shot with these toy guns, but maybe that's a start. I'm not quite there with I realize that once we take guns away from people, then these politicians really ramp up their, they really got you then. But just call me, why don't we start there? Why don't we start with the not selling the toy guns that look like they're real guns? I mean, this thing looked exactly like a real gun because it's called an airsoft. And that's where I can meet you halfway. I can meet you halfway with, we don't need to sell the toy gun. We don't need to respond to a radio call with somebody that has a BB gun, a squirt gun, whatever it is that looks exactly like, I don't know, this thing looked like an M16 to me. This is a very interesting star, and to me, just a very sad life, but succeeded in acting, was a great actress. But she had a stalker, and she was, almost killed by the stalker. That stalker didn't really do a lot of time because, hey, it's Los Angeles. Now you think about it, there's been quite a few actresses that have been stalked and attacked, and then she ultimately passes away at the age of 61. But it's Teresa Saldana, very beautiful woman. She's born August 20th, 1954. American actress, writer, activist, known for her role as Rachel, as the police commissioner in The Commish, for which she received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Performance by an Actress. I knew her I recognized her way before that. She was in Raging Bull. She's the wife of Joe Pesci. I know if you ever see Raging Bull. It's a black and white movie in the 1980s. Very good movie, though. And she's also a Beatles fan in Robert Zemeckis' 1978 Beatlemania. Robert Zemeckis is one great filmmaker, I must say. She was also known for raising awareness of the crime of stalking after a knife attack by an obsessed fan at her Hollywood home Hollywood apartment in 1982. Basically, the reason she was an activist is they were just like, oh, well, it's no big deal. You lived, so we'll just let this guy out. She's like, no, hold on here. This guy's nuts. Let's get this guy locked up for the rest of his life. And I don't think he did very much time. She was born in Brooklyn, New York, and was adopted at 5 days old by the Saldana family of Puerto Rican and Italian heritage. She took dance lessons as a child. After suffering serious shoulder injuries while part of a tumbling team, she enrolled in acting classes at the age of 12. After being spotted by a talent scout while performing in an off-Broadway musical in New York City in 1977, she was cast in a film in 1978. So then she moves out to Hollywood, and she's living in an apartment. That apartment complex is still there. And on March 15th, 1982, she was stalked by, I don't want to say this guy's name, because I don't want to give this guy credit, but a 46-year-old drifter from Scotland. So think about that. Here's a guy from Scotland, and he focuses on this actress and decides, I'm obsessed with you. He became obsessed with her after seeing her in the film Raging Bull. He hired a private investigator who obtained the unlisted phone number of Saldana's mother, Martin Scorsese's assistant, saying he needed her daughter's residential address in order to contact her for replacing an address in a film role in Europe. So 1982, probably pretty normal to get that phone call, because it's hard to get a hold of anybody. And my mom would definitely fall for that one too. He approached Saldana in the front of her West Hollywood residence in broad daylight and attacked her with a 5.5-inch hunting knife, puncturing her lung. His attack was so fierce that the blade was bent. Although there were many nearby onlookers, including children, the attack was interrupted only when a delivery man, hero Jeff Fenn, intervened after hearing her cries, rushed from the second floor of the apartment building, and incapacitated the attacker. Following the assault, Saldana was hospitalized with 10 stab wounds and underwent a 4-month hospital stay at the Motion Picture Hospital. She relived the incident in a made-for-TV movie, Victims for Victims, the Teresa Saldana story, and again in an episode of Hunter. The United States, obviously that guy was mentally ill. You don't come from Scotland to then stab an actress 10 times because you're a sane person. He, of course, was arrested, but here we are 40 years later. Still, this county, state does nothing really for mentally ill people. 15 years in prison, and he's also, while he's in prison, picking up the phone and making threats against her and the guy that rescued her, because he's a nut job. He was then extradited to the United Kingdom in 1996 to be tried in a 1966 robbery and murder. Oh, imagine that. He once saw himself as the angel of death. Well, you were probably right about that. He was found not guilty and diminished of his responsibility in 1997 and committed to the British Psychiatric Hospital, where he died of heart failure in 2004 at the age of 68. Wow, I didn't know that he died, so we can say his name now. It was Arthur Richard Jackson. He's in a better place now. I mean, what an a-hole. Jeez. His method of finding and approaching Saldana inspired another stalker to hire a private investigator that ultimately killed actress Rebecca Schaefer, also in West Hollywood in 1989. So, a stalker inspiring a stalker, and in West Hollywood. Well, only in Hollywood. Following her long recovery, Saldana founded the Victims for Victims organization and participated in lobbying for the 1990 anti-stalking law and the 1994 Driver's Privacy Protection Act, both of which came into being partly as a consequence of the attack. The experience also inspired Saldana to play herself in the television made-for-movie, and she authored the book Beyond Survival, a memoir of her experiences after being attacked. Yeah, that's a great name for a book because, it's just the luck of God that she survived that attack. Her first marriage was to Fred Felicino from 1979 to 1986. In 1989, she married for the second time Phil Peters, with whom she had a daughter. They remained together until she passed away. She died at the age of 61 in 2016 following hospitalization for pneumonia at Cedars-Sinai. Michael Chiklis, who played her husband in The Commish, wrote that it was painful to hear the news. very painful to hear the news because she survived such a horrific attack, and you just hope for somebody that will live a longer life than 61, and also to then pass away from pneumonia. But she's definitely I wanted to talk about her. She was cremated. She doesn't have a grave. It's unmarked. And but I definitely wanted to talk about her, to be remembered of her and her just the advocacy that she has. We need more of that, especially in 2002 when everybody's buck wild with crime, and something like this is bound to happen again. Everybody listening to Famous Graves podcast, also check out Famous Graves on TikTok. So that's where I do all of the short videos on the marked and unmarked graves of famous people.